Hello, everybody. Welcome to the World of Concacaf podcast. We are at the news desk. I am Eric Schmitz.
And I'm Donald Wine.
Jonathan couldn't join us today, but there's too much to talk about, so we need to, get you up to speed. It's March. It's Concacaf season, baby. Donald, are you excited for all the soccer that we're going to be seeing soon?
This is the busiest and best month of the year for me because of soccer, because of basketball, and because of apparently now birds. Or I should say bird.
I'm laughing already. We will get to it later. Believe me, trust me, we're going to get to it later. I promise you. But there's a lot going on in the region right now, and we kind of have to jump around and get you back up to speed. The winter is rough because after the November international break, outside of the outside of window friendlies, there really isn't much going on as far as the international game in our region. And honestly, one of the reasons winter just sucks because there's no the soccer. I miss it, but we're back. So
We're back.
We're back. And we're going to lead it off with exactly what you are expecting us to. It is just about the time for the start of the 2025 CONCACAF Beach Soccer Championship, which kicked off today. That is going on. Their qualifications for the FIFA Beach Soccer World Cup, which is the Seychelles, which nice. The 8 CONCACAF teams participating are the host Bahamas, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, Panama, Trinidad and Tobago, United States. Donald, I lead off with this because I thought everyone would know that we're expecting to talk about Nations League. So we'll get to the Nations League, but beach soccer, combination of our two favorite things, the beach and soccer.
I feel like this podcast should be sponsored by a beach soccer team. This just it's all of our worlds together in one. But I think it's cool, right? And as you know, I believe there's games on FS2 right now. I think the US is playing right now. So it's one of those things where these extended national teams are getting more attention, more coverage. And so it's cool to kind of be able to turn this is what carried us through some parts of the winter, right? It was like you turn on and some random U17 qualifiers or something to keep you going until everything really kicked back into gear. But beach soccer is kind of the lead in to Nations League this month.
Yes. Yeah. So 2 teams will advance to the Beach Soccer World Cup, which great and all. You get to it's in the Bahamas. We honestly should have been on site for this. But
that's an oversight on our part.
Oversight.
We will not have that happen again.
Yeah. But in our defense, our eyes are on the prize because March is the return of the Concacaf Nations League and the 2024-25 Concacaf Nations League Finals to be taking place at SoFi Stadium in LA. We've got the United States facing Panama in one semifinal and Mexico and Canada in the other semifinal. Those games will take place March 20th, with the finals taking place on the 23rd at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. I unfortunately think I'm the only one going, Donald.
Yeah, I can't make it. It's been a rough time, and sometimes you gotta put things aside. This will be the first one that I've ever missed, which I'm not happy about, and I hope that will also be the only one that I have to miss.
I mean, I swear, if the U.S. doesn't win,
I can't. I mean, tell work that, or tell lack of work that.
I know. All right, so we've got the matchups. Rosters are starting to drop. At time of recording, we only have rosters from the U.S. and Mexico, Canada and Panama. We only have their provisional rosters. Do we want to touch on some notes from Canada or Panama?
Not necessarily. I mean, let's start with Canada because I think the one player that I think we're expecting to see out of the guys that we expect to see, but there's one newcomer recently to the program, and Daniel Jebison, who switched, I guess, from England to Canada.
Yeah, he
And
did youth international with England.
mhm. So this is a dual national get for him, and we're expecting to see him on this roster. I would suspect unless he's injured.
Yeah, Jemison, who's with Bournemouth right now. He is eligible. He was eligible to represent England and Jamaica through his parents, but he was born in Oakville, Ontario. So it's a big coup for the Canadian soccer program. He's had a solid career in England. He had a lone stint at my beloved Watford, so the name is definitely familiar to me. But Jesse Marsh gets him. He's one of a handful of dual national recruits that they've been working on that just happened to pan out. The other one, Nigerian Canadian forward Promise David. He's also on the preliminary roster. It's probable that he's going to get the call in. Which reminds me, doesn't Jonathan David put J. David on his jersey?
He puts Jay David on his jersey both for
Uh,
club and country, which I think is funny because at least for country you have the Davies
yeah,
and David, so I kind of get it. But for Lil, there's no
yeah,
one else,
yeah.
so he just has Jay
Well,
David for no reason.
I was gonna say, like, there's finally another David on the team,
Hmm.
so it makes sense now. Maybe he was just, trying to will it into existence.
Now it'll be really funny if Promise David just has David on the back,
Maybe he puts Promise on there.
or
I don't know.
Promise, yeah, yeah.
I probably should have looked that up to see what he's been doing. But honestly, a great opportunity for Canada to get some new talent in. I mean, they're building for a World Cup. They've got a big Gold Cup tournament ahead this summer, and they've got a big matchup against Mexico. So let's talk Mexico. And I think the headline with Mexico's roster is that there is a very familiar name not on the list. And I mean, this could be the first year that Memo Ochoa does not lose a Concacaf Nations League.
He's scared. He got PTSD, and he said, "Don't call me in." That's what happened.
Well, I was going to say, like, Mexico, they're veteran stalwarts. Like, historically, I feel like they've always held on till literally past the end to, like, finally drop guys. And not seeing Ochoa out there is going to be a bit jarring, but it is an opportunity for Mexico. And they've got the tougher draw of between the U.S. and Mexico. They've got the tougher draw having to face Canada. Um, the other big name on the roster this time, Raul Jimenez, Santiago Jimenez, they will be on the squad. Um, but Javier Aguirre, like, he's got to get results here because as we have seen, if Mexican teams don't win titles, the managers usually got to go. Do you think? I mean, Gold Cup is 3 months away. Is he going to last that long?
I don't know, but I mean, there's no Chuck Lozano also on this roster,
Uh,
and there's that. There's Memo. And it's funny you mentioned that they have these guys who hang on. I don't necessarily think it's the case. I think is Mexico keeps trying to call them back, right? It's
yeah,
not just the players, it's the coaches, right? Javier Aguirre has coached
I think it's the
Mexico with,
Federation hanging on too long.
yeah, it's like, oh, we're struggling, bring back these guys. Oh, we're struggling, bring back these other guys. Bring back this coach. I mean, Aguirre, I think, has coached to at least twice, maybe three times,
Yeah,
Mexico in his career. And so and then when they fire him, they just go with some other guy that's probably been in the system that they've had before. Uh, they probably call up guys via a Rolodex. Like they probably still use an actual Rolodex and just have numbers. And they say, hey, we have this number from like 1995. Like, dude, that guy's 50. You're like, okay, great. Call him in. He's experienced. We need experience.
yeah,
So it's interesting is just to see how their player pool seems to be shrinking, despite the fact that they are getting a couple of dual nationals, or at least in their mind, keeping them and not seeing them go to another side. Whereas Canada has taken the approach, kind of like the United States did a few years ago, of expanding the player pool ahead of the World Cup and saying we need as many guys as possible to choose from instead of being limited and relying on just a subset of guys, if only to see maybe a couple of them fall short because they're injured or what have you. So it's two different approaches in the case of Canada and Mexico, and it'll be an interesting match because Canada feels like they have, I don't know necessarily a little bit of momentum, but they definitely have a lot more confidence than they had a year ago.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and ideally for them, they get the two biggest tests. Like if they get past Canada, they are hoping to, go to a final where it will likely be the United States awaiting them. But as we saw in Copa America, maybe not. Panama, we don't have their roster yet, but it is worth noting that Roderick Miller, um, who was the one that incited Tim Weah's red card in that fateful game last summer, he is on the preliminary roster for Panama. So once that gets announced, we'll see what kind of squad they're bringing to Los Angeles. But let's kind of focus on the United States. Poch getting his first real taste of the Nations League Finals. If there's one thing that you can tell Poch, it's like, if he's asking like, what do I need to know? It's literally there's never been a finals that hasn't been fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah,
They've
epic,
always lived up
mental,
to the
yeah,
hype.
everything.
Always lived
Seriously.
up to the hype. So you're just going into this knowing it's like, all right, some wild shit is going to go down. As far as the U.S. roster goes, a lot of the key components are there. Christian Pulisic, who's having an amazing season in Italy. You've got Tyler Adams back in the fold, back healthy. He's cruising. My son having a great year. Weston McKennie, who is just balling out for Juventus. Um, Donald Tyler Adams' presence, is that like the key to this team right now, do you think the fact that he hasn't really played much under Poch, like what are you expecting out of him in this window?
I think for Tyler, him being on the team despite his young age is a calming presence for the rest of them because he's the leader. He's the guy that captivates the locker room whenever he's in it. And this is the first time that he's been able to play under Pochettino because he had been hurt through most of the fall. But the fact that he's coming back now, he also gets to add the hunger element that we've seen him have before, where he feels like he's going to walk in thinking he needs to prove himself again through his play. And we as fans know what that means. That means he's going to have a banger of a game, right? And so if you remember last year, he had just come back from injury. He was playing like limited minutes and he just has a worldie
Um,
against Mexico.
yeah,
And he knew he was like, despite the fact that I am only going to be on the field for 45 minutes, I knew that I needed a moment, and that was it. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how he integrates into Pochettino's offense. I'm not necessarily concerned about the defensive part because I think he's going to be able to, again, be the quarterback out there and really command the team. But I think what we didn't have a year ago was a very capable Johnny Cardoso to kind of back him up or be alongside him if they want to go defensive. So, very, very interesting. There's some younger guys on this line in this lineup. We see Diego Luna getting his first test. Patrick Aguimeng gets his first test in international competition. Brian White gets his first test in international competition. So you see him. Cameron Carter Vickers, I believe, is his first time back under Pochettino. And I'm blanking on the other guy. I mean, Jedi was out, I think, last fall because he had that like hernia surgery or whatever.
uh-huh.
So he was out for a window, but he's playing at a all world level. So um, there's a lot of guys here who are playing. I think the best part is a lot of these guys are playing.
Gio Reyna was the other player who has not been called in under
Thank
Poch
you.
yet.
Yes. Yeah. And that's an interesting one. Because he hasn't been playing much for Dortmund, but again, he scored against Mexico last year
Yeah,
in these finals, despite not playing much for Dortmund then. So take that what you will. But there's a lot of guys here who are playing and they're playing at the top of their game, and that's what we need after last summer. The disappointment that we had. I'm sure these guys want to get back and show Pochettino like, hey, when it comes to the Gold Cup, when it comes to the World Cup, ride with us. Minus the at least three, right? It's Gio, Gio, Weston, and Tim are not going to be on the team this summer due to the Club World Cup. So
Yeah.
they're gonna try and go as hard as they can, knowing that they won't be on the team this summer.
Yeah. And that's if Gio doesn't move, because there's been the talk about him potentially finding a new home.
Correct.
So there's still that wild card. But it is interesting to me that you mentioned Luna and Agumang and White getting the call in. It's like it honestly doesn't surprise me that much that three guys from the January camp who really haven't been in the squad were able to make an impression and make this squad. So it almost, looking ahead to a January camp next year, you almost look at me like, all right, guys, anyone who gets called in can make the squad immediately. Like,
That's what it's
show
for,
what you can
right?
do. Yeah.
That's what it's for. And so many guys have made World Cups. So many guys have become legends of the national team by getting that one shot in January camp and impressing enough to be called back. So I mean, Patrick Schulte's there. I think there's a couple other guys that were on the roster that had some
Tim
national
Ream.
team experience before. Or I mean, yeah, Tim Ream, like guys who had national team experience before. Funny enough, that was Tim Ream's first January camp in like 13 years because he had been playing in England this whole
Yeah.
time. So you have these opportunities, and I think for the younger guys, I think they just have to continue to play like they did. Luna really captivated a lot of fans' hearts with his heroism, shall we say, in
Mhm.
January camp where he broke his nose and kept on playing and was able to create a goal. So
Yeah.
those are the things that you want. And we're also this close, right? Serginho Dest is just returned to the field.
Mhm.
Balogun's back at training. So we have some guys, and Sargent's back, right? After being
Yeah.
hurt for the last 3 years,
He's
essentially
been
off and
killing
on,
it.
and have been doing really well. So hopefully he is able to make a difference in this.
Yeah. Um, Notable is if Matt Turner ends up being the starting keeper, the semifinal would be his 50th cap for the U.S. men's national team. We love round numbers. So again, semifinals March 20th. We've got the U.S. taking on Panama in the first semifinal and Canada taking on Mexico in the second semifinal, with the finals taking place on the 23rd. At the end of the episode, we'll do some predictions. But I'd like to just pause because it's been a monumental week in the history of CONCACAF.
In the history
Because
of the world,
in in the history of global existence, um, this week we got an announcement, a gift, really, a gift from CONCACAF to all of us. VOLAR, VOLAR, CONCACAF's first ever mascot, was introduced on Monday, and I I want to make sure that we respect all the work that CONCACAF put in. So I'm just going to go up and read. I'm literally reading from their news article the story of VOLAR. So, who is VOLAR and what does he represent for the Confederation, you ask? VOLAR is a symbol of unity and passion for CONCACAF, embodying the deep connection between our 41 member associations and the ocean that links them. Designed to embrace our shared love for football, Volar's story inspires us all to cherish our unique qualities and pride in our confederation. As a seabird guided by the spirit of the ocean on a mystic mission, Volar represents strength, freedom, and endurance. The sea is more than just a backdrop. It is crucial for our climate, helps sustain our communities, and reflects the boundless essence of football across our region. He reminds us to break free from limitations, embrace opportunities, and explore new horizons. The Spanish name volar means to fly in English, voler in French, and vliegen in Dutch. His name captures our collective ambition to reach new heights. Volar is the ultimate guardian of CONCACAF's heart, championing our fans, cultures, and the unifying power of football, both on and off the pitch. Through exclusive Volar merchandise, which will be available at CONCACAF competitions and on Amazon, fans can show their love for our game and pride in our region.
I will say
Uh,
I checked Amazon. It's not online yet, but it's
okay,
got to be coming.
I'm almost through it. VOLAR's licensing program aims to unite and elevate our confederation to new levels, fueled by our commitment to this beautiful game. Donald, we finally have our mascot. It is a fucking seabird. When you saw this crawl across your timeline, what went through your head?
I had several questions. I'm gonna start with this
This
one.
is our podcast. You can ask whatever questions you want.
I'm gonna start with this one.
Okay.
Why does he look like the cousin of Howard the Duck? Why? Why does he look like a Darkwing Duck ass bird? Why does he look like the Donald Duck ass bird? Dewey Duck ass bird? Huey, Dewey, and Louie ass bird? Scrooge
Listen,
McBird?
I am not here
April,
to
May, and June
insult.
ass bird?
I am not here to insult Volar. I
No,
have two key questions.
no, no, no.
Actually, three
I'm not
questions.
done. I'm not done. After thinking of all that,
Yeah.
all those ducks in your mind, the fact that this seagull looked like Howard the Duck and all of Darkwing Duck ass offspring and Donald Duck's ass offspring. Yo, Confederation would never, could never. This is a CONCACAF thing. If I've ever seen a CONCACAF thing, they better have plush dolls. Like you better bring me back a souvenir. Like they're better
Buddy,
if Volar is not if they don't have Volar fucking flying through the SoFi Stadium like they do the eagle at different or the birds at different sporting events. If there's not a Volar flying in the air like Duff Man, when Howard Stern was Fart Man, then cancel everything and start the whole thing over.
listen, I am convinced and hopeful that there will be a giant fucking Volar mascot
I
walking
want
around
pictures. I want content.
SoFi Stadium. I'm getting a damn picture with him if there is.
Invite Volar on the pod because tell him it's got to be the first one. I can speak enough Spanish to conduct the interview with Volar can only speak Spanish, but apparently he can speak English, French, and Dutch too.
Volar is a
So
seabird, Donald. They don't talk.
I can talk seagull. You know how you talk seagull? You want to hear me talk seagull? Get Volar on the podcast.
Listen, he is not a seagull. He is a seabird.
I've been
And
talking to bird. I've been talking bird people all life. Let's go.
listen, I don't know. I'm trying to decide what I like most about Volar. Is it the 41 diamonds across his wings that represent the flags of the 41 Concacaf nations? Which sidebar, when Greenland gets in, does Volar have to like rebrand?
No, I
I
think
don't know.
Volar will just, it'll actually be even, right? Like it'll be
Yeah,
22 on one side. I'm sorry, 21 on one side, 21 on the other, because we have 42.
yeah,
Also, the flags are arranged in alphabetical order from Anguilla to the U.S. Virgin Islands on the other end. So I thought that was cool.
yeah, sneaking in there. So I don't know if I like the flags in his wings or the giant CONCACAF medallion that he's got on front of his ripped seabird chest.
Yeah, is he like Iron Bird or some shit? Like,
Or is it the fact that he can both fly and kick a soccer ball? I don't know, man. This bird seems to be able to do a lot.
if they don't have flags flying with Falar just flapping his wings, if they don't have flags flying all over the place, if they don't give you guys flags as you walk in, like start it all over. Like this is an easy win for CONCACAF if they just give Valar to the people.
Yeah.
If they don't, they got to start
Like
over.
the merch stand better look like the fucking Disney store with instead of Mickey Mouses, you've got fucking Volars
I
everywhere. You
I would
got
love
different
nothing,
outfits.
would love nothing more than to get a plush Valar and give it to my godson and have to hear the question of what the fuck
What?
is this? And why did you give it to me? And be like, that's Valar. You know what Valar represents? Represents freedom. He represents just dare to dream. Nuestro sueño es ahora. That's Valar.
So there is a comic book that tells the story of Volar. That's you can go find it on CONCACAF's website. I want the damn comic book. I want
Yeah, they should be selling
stickers.
that.
No, they should be sending it to us. So because we're talking about Volar. We're producing content on Volar, and the least they could do is give us the tools to talk about this, intelligently. I want a
They
comic
should
book.
they
I'm
should
trying to be
fly us
smart here.
they should fly us to I mean not necessarily Miami. They should fly us through Miami to Anguilla for us to have an interview with VOLAR. And in fact, VOLAR should fly us to Anguilla. I think that's only fair. They're better than Caribbean Airlines already. So I feel like this is an easy way for them to get some much needed publicity on the greatest bird in all of soccer.
The thing that I learned from the Volar comic book is that Volar wasn't always about Concacaf. He was kind of he was a bird, and then he got like
He was a
feet,
bird.
like a legit just regular bird. He had fucking duck feet, and
Did he get
then
stung
he
by a soccer ball or something like Spider-Man?
yeah. As Volar emerged in a new beach he had never seen before, he realized he had strayed from his flock. Oh, he was like a friggin' transformer. He's getting friggin' actual feet like he played soccer with. Birds
It
don't
should
have feet to kick a soccer ball.
it should note that VOLAR was created by a designer, like a cartoon designer from Marvel. So the Marvel storyline checks out.
Yeah, and see the thing is, we see it all the time when clubs will they'll do new branding, and they'll put together some nonsense diagram of all of the things, like what each thing represents.
Like the
And I
eyeball represents unity
yeah,
in the country. Yeah.
yeah. It's like for Villar, it's got like the medallion. It's like, oh, it's the CONCACAF logo. You don't really need to explain that.
We know what that is.
We know what that is. But the thing that gets me, they posted a video introducing Volar
Mhm.
and talking to like the artists who created it. And the artist, literally within like the first 20 seconds of this video, he just nails it. He said, quote, I feel like I'm part of CONCACAF because I live in the region.
Yeah.
And like that's us. He gets
also,
us. He
also
gets us.
you know how the infographic always has like 37 different things that they're trying to explain. It takes you like 10 minutes to read it. Like
Yeah.
he tried to explain what VOLAR is, and the video was like 3 minutes and 15 seconds long. That is 3 minutes longer than it should be. When you're trying to introduce an app, like this is a bird. We wanted something that could fly because CONCACAF is taking off. Done. I'm so good at this. Get up out of here. That's the end of your video. I know that's not good. That's not good for YouTube, but it's great for social media, and they could have
Yeah.
had that everywhere.
Yeah. You don't got to explain why has he got a CONCACAF logo on his chest. Because it's a CONCACAF mascot, brother. That's the point.
Yeah,
So when I'm out in LA, I am going to be on the hunt. I will be, yeah, I will be searching the skies for all of the Volar merch. And I swear to God, if I see a Volar walking around, you bet your ass I'm getting a picture.
I expect to see it on our social media at Podcacaf.
Yeah. Like, are there any other confederations that have a mascot?
I'm sure UEFA tries to create one for like
Those are
their
for tournaments.
they're for tournaments. Yeah,
This is literally for the entity, the confederation. There is no
no,
like UEFA. CONMEBOL does not have a CONMEBOL teddy bear or whatever.
if Oceania is probably the only other one that would dare try to do this. I don't know that they do.
They'd be a bird. They would be a bird
They
for
would
sure.
absolutely be a bird or something, some
Yeah,
some boll weevil or something that's like local to Oceania, but
yeah.
or fish that walks.
I don't think we say it enough on here, but CONCACAF is the greatest goddamn confederation on the planet.
Your confederation could never do this. It would never try to do this.
So if Volar wasn't enough for you, if Concacaf Nations League isn't enough for you, we've also got Concacaf Gold Cup qualification. This summer is a Gold Cup, which FIFA apparently does not fucking respect, but they should. So we've got 14 teams this window who are playing head-to-head sets for a spot in this summer's Gold Cup. We'll kind of run through the matchups, and at the end, make an upset pick, perhaps. So the first pairing, we've got Belize going against Costa Rica. That one kicks off in Belmopan first. for the return leg in San Jose. The next matchup is St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Shout out Vincent Heat playing the Reggae Boys in Jamaica. I love this matchup because the games are in Kingstown and Kingston.
Hmm.
Concacaf, the fucking best.
And
Uh,
and Jamaica is going to be playing at Sabina Park instead of the
yeah,
office.
yes, which is interesting because it's not like the office is closed down. But Sabina Park is a smaller stadium in Kingston, kind of primarily used for cricket. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that. The fives will be off the charts. Next matchup is Bermuda and Honduras, kicking off in Devonshire and ending in Tegucigalpa. Guyana faces Guatemala. First match in Bridgetown, second match in Guatemala City.
Can I mention for Guatemala, keep an eye on that match because the volcano outside of Antigua just erupted. Yeah, like over like a couple days ago, Volcan de
Mm,
Fuego, which is a great name for a volcano.
yeah,
Um, but it erupted earlier this week. While it shouldn't force it to move, the longer it keeps going, the if that ash cloud is kind of permeating into the city and kind of spreads, they may have to consider moving it. So we got to keep an eye on the skies there.
yeah. Well, no, I should back up that Guyana is hosting Guatemala in Bridgetown, Barbados. So that is a neutral site match. So I'm wondering if in that situation they might just
Just
chill
stay
with
there.
Barbados. Yeah. Um, Next matchup, Cuba taking on the Soca Warriors, Trinidad and Tobago. First match in Santiago de Cuba before the return leg at Atoll Bolden Stadium in Cuba. Next up, we've got Suriname and Martinique. That one is going to be taking place in Paramaribo and Fort de France. And then Guadeloupe and Nicaragua rounded out the first match in Le Grosier and the second match in Managua. All of these matches will take place the first leg on March 21st and the second leg on March 25th. So shout out CONCACAF for staggering these games, so we can
And also
enjoy
for
everything.
it being a real playoff. Like, I mean, we've seen the prelims that are like 3 games a couple of days before everything starts. I like this because we'll know all the teams in the tournament before the draw instead of a
Yeah,
team like the United States, for example, finding out like who they're playing 3 days before the first match, which doesn't make a lot of sense considering the other ones have been known for months. So I like the fact that they're doing it now during this window and getting it out the way. And that way, when the draw happens, we know all the 16 teams that are in it and where everyone's playing.
yeah. For me, the one I'm keeping my eye on is the Suriname Martinique matchup. I think it's a great opportunity for Suriname to get into the tournament, get into the Gold Cup as qualifying continues in June. If they're able to keep going through qualifying, it'd be great experience to get through the tournament. Is there a matchup that you're looking for or an upset, Donald?
Um, I mean, the one we're looking for in the upset department is Vinci Heat. I think them upsetting Jamaica would be a monumental one, not necessarily like an all-timer, but Jamaica obviously has been building up a long time, and the only reason they're in this is because they lost to the United States. But they feel like they're one of the top teams in CONCACAF that could qualify for the World Cup. Vinci Heat beating them would really be a chance for them to kind of show that they might have a chance of maybe breaking into that upper echelon of teams outside of the North American Big Three.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. Again, the Gold Cup taking place this summer, concurrently with FIFA's Dumb Club World Cup. So we've got those games coming up and Nations League. I think we got to get some predictions on paper, figurative paper, because this is a podcast. So people are listening to this. There is no paper involved.
Someone's
So
probably writing this down right now.
yeah,
So,
so you can write it down, put it on the figurative wax. Donald, what do you expect to happen here in this Nations League Finals?
so in the semifinal, I'm picking the United States over Panama. Do we need to give scores or
No, we don't need
okay?
to
So
get that much into it.
okay, yeah, I'm saying U.S. over Panama, and I'm gonna say Mexico over Canada, only because CONCACAF really likes to, influence their cash cow, which would
They
be a
got to sell
USA Mexico
tickets.
final.
They got to sell
They got
tickets.
to keep them tickets, got to keep the people happy. So I'm predicting a USA Mexico final, and whether you call it homerism, whether you call it whatever, I think the U.S. is playing at a much better. These guys are playing at a much higher level than Mexico is right now. I think they get their four straight.
Um, I'll say this. Here's where I sit with it. I don't know who's going to get through to the final, but I think I can see a new champion here. And I say this because what is the one rule of this podcast?
The vibes
Con-
based economy.
CONCACAF is a vibes based economy, and the vibes are fucking terrible right now. Things are not great. The vibes are not good. And in an economy where vibes matter, I can see two countries with a chip on their shoulder getting a chance to take on the US, who, I mean, Poch has not CONCACAF strongly per se, like he's got a lot of experience, but I don't know if he's ready for the dumb shit that might come. So I could see Canada or Mexico finally breaking through, and because it hurts me, because if there's anything I love more than seeing the US victorious and like my team winning and my son Tyler Adams, lifting the trophy over his head after a game,
Hmm.
the thing that comes close to that feeling is me being right. So I just feel like with everything going on right now, I could see this being the year where it doesn't happen. And being CONCACAF, the vibes, they even things out. So there's going to be some dumb shit that happens. Something will happen. Like, it's interesting not having Serginho Dest on the squad. Like, he's always been one that kind of starts shit.
Hmm.
Weston McKinney always kind of starts shit. And, you've got Panama in the U.S. playing for the first time since Tim Weah punched a guy in the back of the head. You know, like, it could get chippy in any one of these games. And I don't know if the U.S. has what it takes to keep their head. And I don't know if we're going to see the urgency that Concacaf Nations League deserves. So, yeah,
I think the chippiness is going to be there for sure,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
this is one where this is a tournament where before the others, right? The others you kind of had. I mean, in a way, in 2023, you had a similar instance, right? Because it was B.J. Callahan for the United States who was interim at the time. But at the time, we knew that Berhalter was coming back because it was announced, 5 seconds into the match that he
yeah,
was coming back. I think this time around, this is where you need to have the stable leadership within the player structure to lead this team in a way that Pochettino could not, because the players know what to expect. The players know, and even Tim Weah said, "Yes, I know they're going to be chippy, and I know there's going to be a problem." And they weren't able to keep their head. Now, do they learn from that? And are there guys there that can go, hey, when they do get chippy, when they do tug at you, when they do, you know, give you the forearm shivers, do you have what it takes to not respond, or to respond by taking the ball and putting it in their net? That would be the best way to respond and winning the game. That is where the leadership of the team needs to step up, and hopefully these guys a year older, a year wiser, again, a year stronger will be able to handle that.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know who's going to win, but I do think that we're going to see one game that's going to stand out as, this is why we watch. Like, this is
Chaos.
incredible chaos, incredible soccer. I could see some extra time, maybe some penalties, something wild happening. Because with this tournament, you should expect nothing less. Um, so yeah, looking forward to going. Again, I'll be out there. I'll try to get some content for you. We'll get content on the Patreon, which we
Yeah,
hadn't mentioned yet. We're so fucking bad about leading off the Patreon,
but we
but
love them.
we love
We love
them.
them.
Thank you to all of our patrons. You can support the podcast for as little as $1 a month. You can feed this starving podcast for $1 a month, or you can sign up as a free member and just support the numbers and get notices when things get posted. You can do that at patreon.com/podcacaf, POD You can also follow us on all social medias at podcacaf, on your Instagram, your Facebook, and Blue Sky, which we're focusing on because Elon Musk is a piece of shit. So
Correct.
we are Blue Sky in it as much as we can now. And we encourage all of CONCACAF, especially the confederations, to get on Blue Sky
And the teams.
so that way we can repost your shit. Shout out US Soccer for finally embracing it. It's great to see them there. So Canada, Mexico,
Canada Canada's on there.
Anguilla.
Canada's on there, but they don't it's weird, right? And we've seen this in other teams too. You have teams that post everything on the other app and they post some of the stuff on Blue Sky, but we need them to start
Yeah,
getting everything over there, like you said, so we can promote your stuff.
yeah. Suriname. Let's see it. Aruba. Come on. Blue Sky. If there's one thing we love about it, looks like CONCACAF, it is a blue sky. So we'll see you there.
By the way, before we leave, I just came up with an idea, and I hope someone has beat me to the punch here. When you go out, if you were going out to the Nations League or whatever, or the Gold Cup Finals, if they should have bags of like chopped up sunflower seeds, and the package just has a picture of Volar, and it just says bird feed. You can sell that for $10 and make a killing.
CONCACAF, have your HR reach out to us. We are
Correct.
available. Thank you to everyone for listening. Donald, where can people find you?
At BlazeDW on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, CONCACAF. Thank you, VOLAR. VOLAR is, it's been a shit year for everybody, but VOLAR has been a bright spot in a dark cloud for us here. I swear to God, if I don't find a stuffed VOLAR out in LA, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Bring two. Get me one.
Yeah, we'll get some VOLARs. Thanks everybody. Appreciate it. Like, rate, subscribe, review, give us 5 stars. We love you.
Peace.